Hello and welcome to another episode of Video Game Reviews, and today I'm going to be talking about Aggelos on the Nintendo Switch. Now, Aggelos, first of all, if you take a look at it, it kind of feels reminiscent of maybe a Master System game or maybe a Genesis game. Anyway, it looks like it was heavily inspired by, Wonderboy or pretty much Wonderboy, or maybe a little bit of some of those other early Sega games like Alex Kidd or what have you. Anyways, this game has, first of all, it's very convincing. It feels very authentic in terms of being like a throwback to the old 8-bit era, or maybe the early 16-bit era, I guess. And everything, like from the look, the sound, the music, the sound effects, the challenge, definitely, and just some little subtle quirks that give it that jank, like a little bit of jank, but like in mostly a nostalgic way. So there were a lot of times when Aggelos gave me those really good old school feels. I felt like I had bought like a brand new, legit old school game. However, along with that is the obscurity of kind of where you're supposed to go and what you're supposed to do, at times how you're supposed to progress. People fault Castlevania II Simon's Quest with being, for some reason, like a really famous example of a game that's like too vague and obscure when it comes to exactly that, where you're supposed to go and what you're supposed to do. Well, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. As a kid back in the 80s, I didn't have any problem with it. But here we are in 2023, and Aggelos, I had to look stuff up multiple times for this game. And so, again, as I've said in a few of my other videos, if that doesn't bother you, because we live in 2023 and we have Google, then, Aggelos might be a good option for you. But if you find that sort of thing irritating, if you view it as kind of lazy or not thoughtful on the part of the developers, which, I mean, is kind of true, then that might be a deal breaker for you here. I was most of the way through this game, and I just shelved it. I just stuffed it back into my backlog and was like, yeah, maybe someday I'll get around to finishing this game, but it's also possible that will never happen. And anyway, I finished it the other night, finally went back to it and kind of wrapped things up there. But the only thing I'll say is, while I didn't, I'm not really that much of a completionist unless I absolutely love a game. I'm content with just seeing it to its natural conclusion. I don't have to find every secret item or whatever most of the time. But in Aggelos, I felt like I didn't really have a choice. I didn't find every item, like I said, but I got like all of the best gear. I got all of the health upgrades except for 3, so I was missing 3 heart containers at the end of the game. I went around, I found scrolls, techniques, like every move that you could possibly find, and there's a lot of stuff that you, from a practical perspective, you really pretty much need to be able to finish this game. However, it's optional, meaning it's out of the way. I don't think anybody even tells you about it. You just kind of have to stumble into it, and which in my mind is okay for like extra items, little bonus achievements or whatever, what have you. But as far as items that are more or less necessary to complete the game, I feel like you pretty much should find them in the course, like the natural course of your playthrough. And that is not the case with Aggelos. So again, I don't really like the approach that they took here with regard to that, but I can also respect that some people don't mind that. And so just be aware that if you're thinking about picking up this game, that definitely is a factor. And some of the bosses, particularly some of the some of the later bosses in the game are pretty difficult. They're not impossible, but they are very hard, and you want to, like I said, you want to be well equipped when you go to face them. So the game starts out pretty basic. You have a jump, you have an attack, and as you play through the game, you unlock magic spells, 5 or 6 magic spells, a few sword techniques. You find additional heart containers. You can do, pretty much your typical type of setup. And as far as how the game flows, I would compare this similar kind of to Infernax, which is similar to Simon's Quest, which is why I referenced that earlier, in that it's technically a Metroidvania, but there just aren't very many vertical segments in the map of the game. It's mostly horizontal. It's a lot of outside segments. I mean, there are castles or dungeons or whatever you want to call that, but there's also a lot of wandering around outdoors, which is more like Castlevania 2 than it is, what has become the modern Metroidvania, which tends to take place in, indoors or in cavernous environments, in mechanical type of environments, in a castle or an underground military bunker in the case of Shadow Complex, if you've ever played that. Anyways, that's what's up with Aggelos, man. That's really all I have to say about this game. It's pretty solid. If you're looking for those, nostalgia warm and fuzzies, this game has it for you. But it will also, at times, feel like a kick to the groin. And you probably will have to look some stuff up to complete this game. And even then, it's not going to be like super breezy. It's not the hardest game I've ever finished, but it's far from the easiest as well. So just know that going in, and if it sounds like something you like, play it. And if you're like, ew, that's a deal breaker, then obviously don't. Okay, so Aggelos sells for $15 on the eShop, which, in my opinion, is maybe, it's an okay price. Due to what I perceive as the game's faults, I feel like $15 is maybe a little bit steep. I would say wait for it to go on a sale, which, it will, and pick it up then if you are compelled to do so. But if what I've said makes you feel like maybe this isn't the game for you, then straight up don't pick it up, even on sale. I thought it was okay. I'm not grumpy about having purchased it or anything, but could have been better, could have been worse. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. Please click like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time, whenever that may be. Bye-bye.